welcome to Meet the Patient, brought to you by A Life in a Day. As part of our commitment to enable people working in the healthcare sector to increase their understanding, empathy and patient focus, in this series of interviews we're asking people living with a condition or disease to go beyond the clinical and share their personal stories to demonstrate the impact it has on relationships, family, friendships, work and their emotional well-being. Today our focus is on fibrodysplasia ossificans progressiva, also known as FOP, and I'm really delighted to introduce Carli. Hi Carli. Hi. So Carli, you met my colleagues Mark and Josh almost 2 years ago now when we were creating our Life in a Day FOP experience, and you shared your story of living with FOP. And since that time when you spoke, we've all been following your story through your social media platform where you advocate for people living with disabilities. So I'm really pleased to have this opportunity to speak to you again. Thank you for joining me. Carli, would you mind telling me, what do you think is the one thing people need to be most aware of when they think about living with FOP?
The biggest thing for me is to see past the disability. I use a wheelchair, I have a service dog, but underneath all of that, I'm just the same as you, I'm the same as anybody. So I really just encourage people to look past the physical limitations of FOP.
Do you still live with your parents?
No, I moved out in 2019. I live about 10 minutes away from them. So they're still very involved. One or both of them are here every day, so.
Good. And you said you're an only child, so yeah, so you growing up with FOP, it didn't impact on any siblings, but
no, it was very vital that we educated everyone around me on a level that was appropriate for them, obviously. But it was, honestly, it was the best in a bad situation. But post high school, I really struggled because it was the first time that people didn't know me. So from kindergarten to high school, there really was no reactions because people knew. Post high school was the first time that I personally had to do the educating. And obviously that's a lot harder when you're 18, 19, 20. People are kind of set in their ways, and the first thing you do when you see a wheelchair, it's, oh my God, something's wrong. It's not usually, hey, let me go introduce myself to that person. It was me having to advocate and put myself out there in a way that I'm still not really comfortable doing. So luckily I have a group of people around me who are much better at the in-person educating, because like my reaction as a child was like, because I walked with a limp, people would be like, oh my God, what happened to your ankle? And my first response is to say nothing and go the other way. So luckily my mom would be the one, oh, she has this is what's wrong. But I'm still trying to figure out how to do that in person. I can do it really well online, which is why I started my blog platform, but the in-person is still a struggle for me.
how has it impacted your social life? I mean, do people forget that there's just some things that you might not want to take part in or can't take part in and they just invite you anyway, or what's it like?
It's actually funny. My two best friends, who also have their own set of disabilities, most of my close friends don't live near me. I have one that lives 2 hours away, one that lives 4 hours away, and one that lives across the country. And then I do have a couple close friends from like elementary school and high school. I'm actually getting together with one of them tonight. I think they do kind of forget in a sense. And then obviously my friends that have their own disabilities, we don't even view it as different because it's just our lives. But I mean, the biggest impact on my social life is obviously my friends don't live near me. And the ones that do know what I will and won't do. So if they're doing something, they just don't even ask me. which can be frustrating at times because I would rather get invited and say no than just not invited, even though they know I'm not going to go.
So you mentioned your boyfriend a little bit there. Could you tell us a little bit more about your romantic relationships?
So I have been with my boyfriend since we were 15 and 16. So we are going on 11 and a half years. We actually met in middle school. So we have been best friends since we've been 12. And I played hard to get for a while, which is fine. It worked. But we have been together since we were 15 and 16. He just treats me like this is normal. He does have obviously more caregiving aspects, which we try to balance because it does get really challenging when your significant other has to help get you dressed and help you go to the bathroom and help you get in and out of bed. So my parents are really good about jumping in to give him a break because it does get overwhelming. Yes, we definitely want kids. I won't be able to have them. I can't get pregnant. I couldn't do infertility treatments, none of that. So we're still figuring out if we'll look into adoption or surrogacy or kind of how we'll play that out. But we do definitely want kids. And I think we're getting closer to the point that we have to actually put a plan in motion, which is kind of scary to think about, but it's what happens when you're almost 28.
I know you do on your Instagram profile, you are a beauty
Yes.
blogger and obviously you're a disability advocate as well. But what's your career path been? What would you define your job as?
It's interesting that you say that because I am trying to grow my blog. I'm trying to grow my Instagram. I really want to be a disability advocate and an influencer, as you would call it. But I actually, last week, just started school again, which is terrifying, to do medical billing and coding because I really do need a job that I can do from home. Just from high pain days, because of how my disease has progressed, I can only go to the bathroom in the shower, and I need someone to help me get dressed, even after the bathroom. So I need something I can do from home, and that's a little flexible in case I'm just in too much pain, or I need to work from bed or my recliner, which is why I started school for medical billing and coding, because it is a job that can be done from home really easily, but also offers part-time. Because at least in the stage I'm in right now, I don't think I could go to work full-time, 40 hours a week, even from home, would be too much for my health. So I decided to go that route.
You describe to me how living with FOP impacts on your emotional well-being.
So I do also suffer from anxiety and depression. Some of that stems from FOP, the not knowing what's the next flare up gonna be, what am I gonna lose next, stuff like that. And then obviously the depression comes in with the, oh, well, I can't do that. I'd really like to go play sports, or I'd like to do this with my friends, but I'm too tired because I did something yesterday. So it's definitely a balance. I do think even if I didn't have FOP, I would struggle with both of those. I think it's kind of built into my personality traits. But luckily, I have a really good support system around me. They're able to pick me up when I'm down, just little things like that. So it definitely impacts my social calendar and social well-being. But I think at this point, I'm in a good groove.
What's the one thing about your condition that you try to hide from your loved ones, family and friends?
Definitely the pain level. I think if they knew just how much pain I was in daily. It would scare them. I think I even hide the pain level from myself just because I built such a high tolerance over the years. But I think if they knew just how much pain was inside my body, it would freak them out, or just how uncomfortable I am in certain positions. I mean, the positions look uncomfortable, and they are, but I don't have a choice.
What's been the most unexpected impact of living with FOP?
Probably the stares you get when you go out in public. It's really kind of frustrating just because people see wheelchair and they don't really know how to react. So like the weird looks you get, or like if I'm trying to get something in a store because I like to wander and then I lose whoever I'm with, you kind of get the funny looks. Or for me, how I adjust in my wheelchair is I have to push against a wall to push myself back in my chair. And the stares you get in public when you do that, like you're running into a wall, people are just like flabbergasted. It was really funny. I had an instant of doing that at my best friend's daughter's cheer competition. And her daughter she's like, Carli, what are you doing? She's like, you just ran into a wall. I'm like, yeah, I sure did.
But that's just your mechanism for adjusting yourself in your chair, is it?
Yeah, it's how I have to do it now because I did break my wheelchair joystick at one point from pulling on it too much. So I had to find a new way to do that because you kind of need your joystick in your wheelchair.
What upsets you the most about living with FOP?
I don't know. I think I don't know any different. So I'm really fine. I guess the worst part is the unknown. I never know if I'm gonna wake up one day and what I'm gonna lose next. It was a big shock to me when I lost my ability to walk. That was really frustrating, obviously. But even then, like the first time I went into a store, once I was wheelchair bound, I nearly had a panic attack because I was so used to just standing up out of my wheelchair to reach something. And I was like, I can't do that anymore. So that was really hard because it all happens. Like I look back and it feels like it happened slowly, but I look back and I'm like, oh my God, like that wasn't slow at all. And I mean, there will be days that I could wake up not having anything have happened and lose something. So I guess that's the most challenging part.
And you mentioned about the stares. People stare at you, or they don't see past your wheelchair, or they don't understand your mechanism for adjusting yourself in your chair. What about the people who love you, the people who are around you? How does that impact them when others are staring at you and being rude?
I think it depends on who it is, because say my boyfriend, he wouldn't think twice about it because he doesn't care what other people think, which I do not have that trait. I would say it probably affects my mom more just because, I mean, I'm her daughter. My dad's a lot like me. He'll just ignore it for the most part until it becomes too much. Like there's a level, and like my friends, I mean, they don't even think twice, so I'm sure they see it, but they don't say anything to me about it, at least. Or
Yeah,
usually I'm the passive aggressive person and we'll make fun of them once we get in the car. That's my favorite coping mechanism with it.
Tell me how your service dog has impacted on your life.
My service dog is my favorite topic. So she's actually my second. My first dog, Ralph, I got him when I was 8. He started going to school with me when I was 10. He did a little bit of everything in the school setting. As he got older, he started to stay. I worked in like a grade level office. So he would stay in that office a lot because he was getting close to retirement. We just didn't want to retire him, but he went to school with me. Towards the end, the office was near a special ed classroom, so the kids would like have to take him out or get him water. So he really helped a lot more than just me. Obviously, he was mine, and he would pick things up. He would push the doors. He was set to graduate with my class, which was really exciting. Unfortunately, he passed away 2 months before graduation, which was really hard for me. Really hard. And then a year later, I got my second dog, Patience. She went to college with me. She went to work with me. Her favorite thing to do is push closed a drawer. But they are just the absolute best. I've always said they take the eyes off of my wheelchair because people are naturally drawn to dogs, but they're just the sweetest little beings, and they end up being my best friend. So
Thank you, Carli. Unfortunately, we're at the end of our time now, but thank you so much for speaking to me and sharing your story. It's been absolutely fascinating, and I'm sure your experience will help people to understand further what it's really like to live with FOP. Thank you to everyone who's listened, and if you're interested in finding out more about the work we do, please follow A Life in a Day on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. Thank you.